வலைதமிழ் நேயர்கள் அனைவருக்கும் முதற்கண் என்னுடைய வணக்கம். எப்பொருள் யார்வார்வாய் கேட்பினும் அப்பொருள் மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பதறிவு என்பது திருக்குறள். அந்த குறளுடன் இன்றைய நிகழ்ச்சியை நாம் தொடங்க இருக்கின்றோம். ஆய்வு நோக்கில் உலக நாடுகளின் தமிழ் தொடர்புகள் என்ற இந்த தொடரில் நாம் முதலில் தமிழ் கொரிய தொடர்புகளை பற்றி எடுத்துக்கொண்டோம். ஒரு 6 ஆளுமைகளை நாம் முன்பு பார்த்தோம். ஆனால் இடையில் ஒரு 3 மாதங்கள் தேக்கம் ஏற்பட்டு விட்டது. அதற்கு காரணம் என்னுடைய பயணமும் வரவேண்டிய ஆளுமைகளின் பயணமும் காரணமாக அமைந்து விட்டது. இன்று நாம் ஒரு சிறப்பு விருந்தினரை சந்திக்க இருக்கிறோம். இவர் சற்றே வித்தியாசமானவர். ஏனென்றால் இந்த 6 ஆளுமைகள் நாம் முன்பு கண்ட ஆளுமைகள் அனைவருமே கொரியாவில் இருந்தார்கள், இங்கு சென்னையில் இருந்தார்கள். ஆனால் ஆய்வு நோக்கிலே பல விஷயங்களை செய்து கொண்டிருந்தார்கள். ஆனால் இப்போது இன்று நாம் பார்க்க போகின்றவர் தமிழ் கொரிய தொடர்பு என்று சொல்லும் போது அதை இன்று இப்போது செய்து கொண்டிருப்பவர். அதாவது InKo சென்டர் என்று சென்னையில் இருக்கிறது. அது தமிழ் கொரிய தொடர்புகளுக்கான பணிகளை செய்து வருகிறது. அந்த நிறுவனத்தில் அவர் இயக்குநராக இருக்கிறார். அவரை நாம் இன்று சந்திக்க போகின்றோம். அவர் பெயர் ரத்தி ஜாஃபர். வணக்கம் ரத்தி ஜாஃபர்.
வணக்கம்.
இவரிடம் ஒரே ஒரு மன்னிப்பையும் நான், அதாவது அவர் கேட்டுக்கொள்வதற்கு பதிலாக நானே கூறுகின்றேன். ஏனென்றால் அவர் தமிழ் மிகவும் சுத்தமாக பேச மாட்டார். அதனால் அவர் ஆங்கிலமும் தமிழும் கலந்து பேசலாம் என்பதை நான் இப்போதே சொல்லிக் கொள்கின்றேன். ஏனென்றால் அவர் மிகவும் தயக்கமாக இருந்தது அவருக்கு. இருந்தாலும் நமக்கு வேண்டியது செய்திகள். அதனால் அது எந்த மொழியில் இருந்தாலும் நாம் எடுத்துக்கொள்ள வேண்டியது அவசியமாகிறது. அதனால் ரத்தி, நீங்கள் ஆங்கிலத்திலும் பேசலாம், தமிழிலும் பேசலாம். எங்களுக்கு எந்த தொந்தரவும் இல்லை. முதலில் உங்களை சற்றே அறிமுகப்படுத்திக் கொள்ளுங்கள்.
Okay, so vanakkam everybody. I know we have many scholars who are part of this group. All of you are very conversant in Tamil. என்னோட தமிழ் அவ்வளோ ஸ்மூதா போகாது. சில மலையாளம் எல்லாம் வரும் நடுவுல. And I manage, but then I'll go in and out if you don't mind. So I joined InKo Center in 2006. 2006 was when the center was set up. And இது ஒரு ரொம்ப வித்தியாசமான center in the sense that there is no government funding, direct government funding. It is set up with corporate support. So TVS Motor Company, Hyundai Motor India are the main planks on which the center is built. And as the years went by, we also got in a lot of Korean and Indian member companies. Most of them are member companies to either TVS or Hyundai. Since there's a very big cluster of Korean industry in and around Chennai, right up to Kanchipuram, we felt it was important to ask them to support cultural activities, links through language, literature, traditional wellness programs like taekwondo, yoga, teaching of Korean language, performing and visual arts. What are these various touch points between India and Korea, where there are so many similarities, historically and otherwise, but also very distinct differences? So how do we celebrate these similarities? How do we respect these differences? What do we learn from this in terms of the valuable relationship that we've evidently had from a very, very long time? So my background, really, I have a background in English literature. I did my PhD in the UK. I came back and worked with the British Council for about 10 years. Before I went, I was in publishing and also teaching. But since 2006, I've joined the InKo Center to develop it from scratch. And we're now about 17 years old.
அப்படியானால் உங்களுக்கு அந்த பிரிட்டிஷ் கவுன்சில் பின்புலம் இருந்ததால் உங்களுக்கு ஒரு பெரிய நிறுவனத்தையே நடத்தும் ஒரு திறமை வந்திருக்கிறது என்று கூட நாம் கொள்ளலாம் அல்லவா?
Actually, Dr. Chitra, British Council-oda progression and joining seemed to be almost a linear thing after finishing studying in the UK, engaging with that culture. அது ஒரு framework இருந்தது, but அங்கே my work was more to do with arts and more to do with language and culture, not in terms of overall running a center, because it also includes operational budgets. It also includes all the nitty-gritties that come to it. So I thought it would be a very interesting challenge to take up something like this. And I did not know anything much about Korea when I joined. I was very honest at the interview to say that this is very intriguing. But if you ask me, do I know the Korean language? Answer is no. Do I know anything about their history? Yes, minimal, because if you look at our history books, we normally learn about, apart from Indian history, we learn about world history, we learn about the world wars, very little about Korea, China, Japan, maybe just one page, which talks about their colonial, 35-year colonial rule. And in that sense, as an Asian country, we are sort of sitting on the same grid in terms of understanding about what it means to be colonized and what it means to sort of keep our culture intact, what we have to do, the challenges we face. I loved Korean cinema from the start, but I used to see it only on the festival circuits. Not much of literature coming through because there wasn't too much of translations. Music, performances, dances, again, not much. These were the days before Netflix and before so much came into our living rooms. So we didn't have that much of easy access. Even in the record shops, you would not find any CDs or anything with Korean music, whether traditional or K-pop. K-pop was hadn't even happened by then properly. Ceramic ware and the hanji paper, this one was aware of because I was, personally interested in the lacquer and the ochil, what they call, or the hanji, their traditional paper. But so it was a kind of an interesting challenge, I think, to say, okay, let's start from scratch. Let's unlearn and learn, because I think the way Korea works and the way Britain works, very different. And the way the rest of Europe works, very, very different. I'll just give you one example. I think with the West, quite often I have found that people can get excited with an idea. Whereas in Korea, if you're dealing with any organizers or organizations, they would only be interested in the outcome. Okay. It's quite difficult at the beginning to sort of say you can say, I think this is what the outcome will be because I'm taking 1, 2, 3 steps to reach there. But it's not until year 2 or year 3 or even later when you actually have proof to say that your strategy has worked. So the first year was very interesting. When I first went to Korea, lots of meetings, lots of talking, but I didn't have, apart from a dream and a vision, there wasn't any solid outcome to show in year 1. That's right. And I said, please give me time till year 2 and I'll come back, and whatever we promised, if we've done, then you have to be my friend forever. And they said, yeah, no, for sure, we will do that. And that's exactly how it went. That's right. But another thing, Dr. Chitra, is I found that, when you don't know the language, I think you listen very differently, You collate information very differently. You've got to get back to ask, have I understood you and do you understand me? You've got to come on to a common plane, which I think when you have a shared language, you sometimes speak in half sentences. You don't need to go into details. The other person has already got it and you can carry on. So that was a big learning, because you have to learn to be almost meditatively quiet in a meeting situation, because they would ask you the question and expect you to give a full answer. They won't interrupt you during that time. And then when they speak, you don't interrupt. You just take notes. And then there's a conclusion that happens. Very different from the sort of repartee and the kind of, turn of phrase and everything that happens when you're using a shared language. So I think that was a big learning for me.
So now you told that it started in 2006. What is the reason of starting this center?
Okay, that's a good question. Actually, my chairman, who is Mr. Venu Srinivasan, head of TVS Motor Company, now chairman emeritus, was the honorary consul general of Korea. He was asked by Ambassador Choi Jung-il, who was in Delhi at that point, Korean ambassador, to assist in setting up a center. At that point, it was mainly because there was no consulate here. So it also included visas, and at that point it was sort of signed visas, which would be stuck into a passport. Then it became, kind of stamped visas. Now it is a paper. It's gone into a paper which is issued by the consulate. So the office was started not where we are right at the moment. It was started in within a TVS office, a small space provided where they would mainly be looking at issuing visas. That time it was not so many students going across, and mainly for business and some tourism. So, but my chairman was very keen that it should not stop with just a sort of paperwork. There should be something much more meaningful, and how can we go about it? And I think that's where the conversation started with Hyundai, asking them to come on board, saying, I'll sort of meet you up halfway if you can also come into support. So, as I said, this is a very unusual model.
Yeah,
for 17 long years to have private organizations or companies to support. But what we did from the beginning, and what I was very particular about, is that we won't rest on just what these companies are giving us, but we will try and match those funds by applying for support systems in Korea, by working with local partners, by, so at least 50% of our spend is from this kind of sponsorship that we get from either in kind or in cash. But with the rest of the 50% is what we have to bid for with an annual meeting, explaining what we're doing, completely costed and given to them. And there I don't call it sponsorship quite consciously. I call it only partnership. I said, you are all partners in this journey. We may be bringing in the creative content. You may be bringing in the actual monies to do it. Without you, we can't go ahead. And without us, you will not have a cause. You will not have like a purpose, basically. So this partnership model, and we always talk about the power of partnership. What is this partnership model that has, propelled us all these years? So that is what we keep. And of course, when there is an economic downturn, we've had years where there's been a bad crash, something has not really worked. The pandemic was very difficult because some smaller companies barely survived. The bigger ones managed, but the smaller ones. So membership, for instance, even before they asked, I had to tell them, look, if you cannot come in this year, it's okay. Or if you can come in at 10% or 20%, whatever you feel comfortable, then we'll do that till you tell us you're okay. So I think there's a lot. And of course, we did not inflate our program budget or ask for more or anything. So I think it's a sort of a give and take there, where we also ought to understand that our support to an organization like InKo Center is not the core of their enterprise. Manufacturing and their industry that's their core work. And as we all know, usually the first thing that gets cut is culture, even in a national budget. First thing that will get cut, they'll say, okay, this is expendable. This is okay. We can't cut on education. We can't cut on, medicine. We can't cut on other stuff. But culture is unfortunately still seen as expendable, So the same thing has happened in Korea after the pandemic. There's been a complete rejigging. There's a lot of things that have got merged. There's some budgets which have been cut, overall it has been done. So therefore, I think it's a model one needs to continuously work on to be aware of the context. What is the current context and where is it that we could ask? And how do we go ahead? So that's how it's been all these years.
Yeah. Good. You are running it up till now 17 years. நான் உங்ககிட்ட நான் ஆக்சுவலா தமிழ் கொரிய தொடர்புகளை பத்தின ஆய்வு ஆரம்பிக்கும் போது நான் ஒரு 3 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி இன்கோ சென்டருக்கு வந்திருந்தேன். நிஜமாவே ரொம்ப அழகா ஒரு அமைப்பை நீங்க பண்ணிருக்கீங்க. முதல்ல அந்த இன்கோ சென்டர் எங்க இருக்குன்னு சொல்லுங்க. ஏன்னா சில பேருக்கு தெரியாது அது எங்க இருக்கு அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு. ஏன்னா இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை பாக்குறவங்க அது எங்க இருக்குன்னு தெரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டோம்.
Please, எல்லாரும் வாங்க. I'll tell you where we are. The address is 18 Adyar Clubgate Road. So it's opposite the old, what used to be it's currently the Crown Plaza. Adyar Plaza, it used to be before. The Crown Plaza, just opposite that is our leading to Madras Club. That is where we are. We moved to this premises in 2014-15. 15 we started here. And it was an old house which was remodeled. We did not break anything, and we did a lot of reusing, recycling. So those of you who have visited will know that we've used scrap material from Hyundai. The packing material becomes our shelves and our, tables, all kinds of things that we have tried, where we have kept up this idea that everything is cyclical, everything is seasonal. And how do we create a place which is not too Korean or not too Indian?
Yes.
But it has touches of that here and there. It could be, you could be a ceramic vase. It could be something that somebody has painted, someone has kept, etc. We also have a cafe, a gallery, and a craft shop. So there's a regular gallery shows, Indian, Korean, Indo-Korean, that happens. Next month, actually, the very early next month, there's going to be a very interesting Korean and Indian show, which took place in Korea and is now coming here. So we keep looking for opportunities like this with partners to present. The craft shop has still not opened after the pandemic, but it is a small space which has knickknacks and also offers a kind of a counter for packing. Korean packing is very beautiful. The bojagi packing that they do, which is like our potlam actually, tied together like that. So either with silk or with paper, they do it. And we don't insist that people have to buy from the shop. You can bring your gifts and get it wrapped here or packed here. So that will open very soon. The cafe has reopened. It's called Dokkabi, which is a goblin figure in Korean literature. Types of teas and all kinds of instant. We don't cook. We are not allowed to cook on premises. But you have fresh food, which has got a lot of footfalls now because it is on social media. I think we had some influencers coming out here and writing about it. So that was nice. So we see a regular stream of people. It's open from 2:00 in the afternoon.
ஓகே. இப்போ நீங்க வந்து மெம்பர்ஷிப் அப்படின்னு சொன்னீங்க இல்லையா? இப்போ வந்து மெம்பர்ஷிப்னா அவங்க வந்து கொரியன் கம்பெனிகள் மாத்திரமா இல்ல இந்தியன் கம்பெனிகள் ரெண்டுமே உங்களோட மெம்பர்ஷிப்ல இருக்காங்களா? எப்படி அது?
Actually, we have more Korean companies. 46 companies of the list is from Korea.
Okay.
And these are from very small, maybe just having 5 to 10 members, to the big, what they call the tier 1 companies, Mobis, Globis, who are all Hyundai's main sort of logistics partners or, component parts or thing. But we also have about 8 or 9 Indian companies, Wheels India, Brakes India, all of these people who are like TVS Motor main vendors. So there are some who are small and there are some who are a little bit on the tier 1 level. We've got just one non-automotive member, and it's a company called Mire Assay, who is into financial management and things like that. They're based in Bombay. They've just come in. So they have just come in now. So we are trying to get, there are some Korean banks now in Chennai and other parts of India. We're trying to get some of them on board as well. It's important, as I said, for them also to understand that this can either go as their CSR or it can go as what, you have an ATG certificate. So if you have an ATG certificate, they can get exemptions. The bigger companies prefer a CSR exemption, putting their money. So we've recently got that certificate. You need a certificate. So we've got that certificate also. So, we would like to, we always tell our members, look, we don't have a library or we don't have anything like that in terms of membership, but we always offer them the best seats in the house if something is happening. We tell them first right to information. There is a Culture Connect card, which is sort of negotiated benefits for loyalty points only for Korean residents, just a special club-like thing, So they could go into hotels like the Hyatt or the Taj, they could go into Shemiers, they could go in somewhere. So there's a list of various providers and what they provide really, based on what's comfortable to them. So it could be lunches 20% off, it could be a spa, something else off. So whatever they feel comfortable with. We just facilitate it and give it to our members. Mainly their wives use it.
Yeah. இப்போ நீங்க இந்த உறுப்பினர்கள் எதுக்கு கேட்டேன்னா, இப்போ இந்த உறுப்பினர்கள் எல்லாம் நீங்க நம்மளோட சென்டருக்கு வர வச்சு நீங்க நம்மளோட கல்ச்சரை பத்தி எல்லாம் எதுவும் செய்யற மாதிரி ஏதாவது நிகழ்ச்சிகள்லாம் ஏற்பாடு பண்றீங்களா?
அதுவும் இருக்கு Dr. Chitra. Wherever there is a touch point, we do it. We had most recently a fabulous book launch with Professor Kannan's book. Professor is on this group, I think. And there was so much of genuine interest about the links dating back to antiquity, with the Queen going across, the language links, the sort of, incredible findings which show that long back, there was definitely a connection, whether it is with the I Kingdom in the south or where exactly located, we still need to do it. And there is an ongoing project where,
That's right.
again, Professor Kannan, Mr. Orisa Balu are all part of this. We also have in that project researchers from Korea and from Canada and from other parts looking at about 5 or 6 different areas from antiquity, from history to history and mythology, to looking at maritime links, to linguistic links, looking at, what are the trade and commercial links more recently. Because it's really after 2000, I mean, after Hyundai came into Chennai, and I don't think it really was a coincidence that they chose Chennai. It was almost like a complete 360 where everything started coming back. They chose this shore. Okay, whether they left from the shore or not is still contestable, but they chose the shore. They came back here,
Yes.
and from here they have branched out all over India, and is today the second largest automobile manufacturer and distributor. So wherever possible, we always draw similarities. So we look at the language, one thing. Even when we have our calligraphy classes, we always look at the way in which the Tamil script can also lend itself to beautifully to calligraphy. There is when we do the taekwondo classes, we also have yoga classes where we talk about mind over matter, mindfulness in terms of the way we conduct ourselves. When we have things in the cafe, we always look at the seasonality of food. We also have those kind of things where particular seasons there are particular kind of foods our grandmothers used to say we should take. And if you talk about Korean ginseng, there's always the Indian ashwagandha, which is exactly the same in terms of potency and in terms of nutritional effect. And then when we have our Korean and Indian exhibitions, we always look at that visual vocabulary. What is that? Is there something different in the way in which they work with colors or certain material processes? Are there any similarities? So we always have residencies, periodic residencies in ceramics or painting or writers going across. So this is the whole idea being that it should not simply be an event-led organization. I think events are important to draw attention to this connection. We have 3 words which we use. We started using it, and every year we sort of review it, but it seems to have stuck. It is discover, engage, and create. Discover, engage, and connect. So you don't have to go in that linear fashion. You might have already discovered, in which case you are connected already and you're already engaged. And it could work the other way around as well. You connect with something, but you're very curious, so you have to discover something as you go along.
Yes.
So I think that's a lifelong journey. And it is something that step by step, unless we show that there are those similarities, of course, a lot of distinct differences also, unless we show that there are those similarities, it won't be woven into a project. I'll give you a simple example. We did a music collaboration called Same But Different. Okay, SSBT, same but different. Just a colloquial way of saying it. We also have it like that. We have this even in our regional languages. So it had percussion, it had string instruments, it had wind instruments, and some amount of vocal as well. So when you look at the vocal element and you look at the verbal percussion that we also have, honakol that we also have, you look at certain instruments that they use, whether you're using the, not so much the tampura, they don't have an equivalent there, but if you take the ektara, the single string, egam that they use is very similar to the ektara, which is further up north. But you look at the percussion instruments, if you look at Kerala, you look at Tamil Nadu, including folk instruments, there's so much of overlap.
Yes.
Then you look at the dance forms, the mask dance forms, which they have in Andong and other places. You have it all over here.
Yes.
You look at the shamanistic traditions in terms of, whether it is deity worship and that kind of, the performer almost possessed in terms of, you have that in Kerala. If you go in Indians, you will have
all over South India. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have in Tamil, you have this, all night long you would have a musician, 1 or 2 musicians together, isn't it? So you have the storytelling which goes on endlessly. You have Absolutely. You'll have maximum one drum.
Mm.
So they have a very similar tradition. Now, of course, dying out, but you will have that tradition of actually, and that's a space where you can critique the government, you can ridicule, you can use it as a vehicle of sarcasm. So many kind of things can happen within that one performance, which is again very community based. So if we look at the performance traditions in Korea, everything it has a reason and it stems from community. Most of it is to do with festivals. And today I think is a very good day that you've chosen, Dr. Chitra, because today is Chuseok.
Oh,
Today is
okay.
the harvest festival, which is
good.
similar to our Pongal, similar to
Okay.
Lohri. You know, we have it in January, they have it today. And
Okay, that's good.
it is their national Thanksgiving Day.
Okay,
So
good.
essentially the same thing. You create new food, fresh food, you wear new clothes,
Yes.
you pray for your ancestors, you get the blessing of your elders. Everybody comes together. It's a holiday, long holiday weekend in Korea. Everything comes to a standstill. And it's a time for family, but it's also a reminder of nature's bounty, of renewal, of hope, of fertility. You know, you've got all of this very, very similar to why we celebrate our thing. Nothing to do with religion, a very secular festival, but still something which is of prime importance.
That's nice.
You know. Then the other thing that struck me when I was often travel to Korea, I like to go to the traditional markets just to see, you know, how things go on there. And again, very similar to our markets, people will be bargaining. They'll be you probably have come away with less than a bargain, but you feel very good that you know haggle on the price and they reduce a bit and they give it to you, or they sort of win you over. You know, they'll say "Yapuda, so beautiful, so nice," something they would say, and expect you to, you know, pay them whatever they ask. So I'm just saying in terms of the approach, it is so similar that many of our Korean artists and contacts who've come, they feel so comfortable in Tamil Nadu.
Yes.
So much in Tamil Nadu. And when we take them sometimes on tour to Calcutta or to Delhi or to Bombay, it's not the same feeling and they're not able to put their finger on it. They say this is how Korea was 30 years ago or 20 years ago. What exactly, they would not be able to say, maybe.
Okay.
You know?
That is nice.
Yeah.
So now as you mix up with all the Koreans, what do they think when they are living in Tamil Nadu? What do they think? Whether they can connect like we connect to the Korean culture? Do they do that?
Yeah. I think I see a couple of things to keep in mind. When the population in Chennai or anywhere else in India is pretty much a floating population. Not many people stay here for more than 2 years, 3 years. You may find the rare occasion where, like, there is a person who is the head of the Korean Association here, Mr. Jo Sang-hyun. He has a restaurant here and he is now doing really well. That restaurant is really very authentically run. He has been here for more than 15, 20 years.
Oh, okay.
But you know, completely relates to Chennai and the place. He understands how things work, etc. But he is, I think, an exception. He and a few others have been here for a long time. Even in Delhi, there are 1 or 2 people who've been here for a very long time. But usually people are coming out because especially the women and children come out, unlike other cultures where you have the husbands going out to work and an expat community of really working professionals. Here you have the family also moving. So the family will be here, but the family is here for that shorter period. They'll join the American International School, go to international school or some of the local schools here. And more than Indian parents, I think the Korean, especially the women, are very, very particular to push their children to do well and study. Because especially when they go back, they have this tough entrance exam to get in. There are 3 universities called SKY, which is a short form for Seoul National University, Korea University, and Yonsei. And everybody is scrambling to get into these 3 because this is a very prestigious sort of cut among everything else. There are many other universities as well.
But these are the best.
So you can imagine how, and it's interesting because when these exams happen, traffic is sort of cleared for people to go for it. It's taken very seriously, you know. And like Tamil Nadu, I think the premium on education, giving a lot of importance to education, the respect for elders, You'll still find that they will not sit, they'll wait. If you go out in a group also, the eldest person starts and then asks everyone else to start, and then they do that. Never speaking out of turn when you're in the presence of elders, especially. Those are all, I think, beautiful traditions which have still continued.
Good.
And I hope it continues to stay that way, because there's a lot of pressure now with everything becoming so modern, everything becoming so global. So hopefully those roots won't be lost. And I would just like to share an example of that transition. The last time I was there was a business meeting that my chairman had, which had just helped to set up. But this was at Hyundai, and the Hyundai and Kia are, they're sort of a parent and child company. They're one company actually, but two differentiated products. So they have twin towers, one next to the other, where their offices are. So we walked into Hyundai the first day for the meeting, and it was all very formal. Everybody was in their suits with their ties. It was a very formal greeting and exchange of cards. And it went in the very known way, how we've known how Korean meetings go. The next day was at Kia, which is next door. And it was completely the opposite. Everybody was in, jeans and t-shirt, no jackets. It was just a handshake, just a hi. And you're so surprised to think that, my gosh, this is one and the same company. And obviously, this is a kind of a move to become maybe more globally acceptable. I felt a twinge of sadness actually to say, oh my God, this is disappearing, this traditional way. So we find that even in India, in Tamil Nadu, if you notice, in some places, you still have Vanakkam traditionally. In other places, it will be a handshake as you would have in anywhere else, isn't it? So it's kind of, so I think now the challenge for both our cultures is about how to retain those traditions, at the same time remain global.
Yes.
So our access to English, for instance, might have given us an edge.
Yes.
But I think it is the pandemic especially has shown us that there are very deep-rooted cultures in India which has kept us grounded.
Yes.
Whether you call it family or faith or whatever you may call it, I don't want to get into religion, but I'm saying spirituality and faith, philosophy, etc., has kept us grounded. Whereas you find countries like Korea, it was Japan before that, and then now Korea. There is a certain angst which is set in because there are a lot of younger people who don't have any religion. If you ask them, they'll say, I have no religion. Okay, that doesn't matter. Spirituality also overtaken by a certain material kind of push. There is a growing sense of an aging population because not many young people want to get married. Slowly catching up in India also, but don't want to get married. But at the same time, there is a traditional group as well, where it is very important to get married, have children in terms of continuity, etc. So this transition, I think, is a very interesting phase. So like we say, the Korean wave is now capturing everybody everywhere with its spontaneity and its kind of vibrance and everything. But that has to be matched. And all of our programming at InKo Center has been about looking at the contemporary relevance of tradition. Why does something continue to be important and continue to resonate with the young? Only then it's going to stay alive. So while we can do the K-pop and we can look at it as a kind of modern phenomenon, we should always go back to see from where it deviated or from where it grew. There are some very interesting groups who still use traditional costumes. It may be the hanbok, but a revised kind of modern version of it, or the hats, or the samalnori kind of, their headgear, or whatever it is. But they are performing within a K-pop sort of context. And that I find much more interesting than K-pop per se, So that, I think that is, and because again, we are not government funded, we can sometimes choose to present these sort of out of the box programs as well. It doesn't have to be, sometimes understandably, every government would say this year we're going to focus more on the traditional end, or this year we're going to focus more on the K-pop end, and their funds will be accordingly allocated. So we do a mix of both, not like, for instance, if you take a traditional Kathakali performance to Korea, visually very arresting, orally very strange maybe and interesting. But if you don't know the language or you don't understand the story, you're kind of lost in 5 minutes.
Yeah, correct.
You know, so how to pick and choose and where to make that connect. The purists might say you cannot have a subtitles, you cannot have subtitles, but sometimes you've got to make that allowance just as a hook to get them in. I'm going to just have a sip of water. Please carry on.
Yeah. Now you told about நீங்க வந்து அந்த இசை பத்தின நிகழ்ச்சி சொன்னீங்க இல்லையா? இப்ப என்னோட அனுபவத்தை பத்தி சொல்றேன். 2019 நான் வந்து முதல் உலக தமிழ் உயராய்வு மாநாடுன்னு வந்து சென்னையில நடந்தது. அங்க போகும்போது அவங்க வந்து அப்பதான் வந்து இந்த கொரியாவை பத்தி எனக்குமே தெரிஞ்சுது. அங்க வந்து கொரியன் தூதுவர் வந்து கொரியாவை பத்தி பேசினாரு. அதுக்கப்புறம் ஆய்வாளர்கள் எல்லாம் பேசினாங்க. அப்புறம் அங்க வந்து ஒரு இசை என்ன சொல்றது, ஒரு கண்காட்சி வச்சிருந்தாங்க. நம்மளோட பழைய சங்ககால இசை கருவிகள் எல்லாம் வச்சு ஒரு நிகழ்ச்சி வச்சிருந்தாங்க. நானுமே அதெல்லாம் நிறைய பார்த்ததில்ல, எப்பயோ கேட்டிருக்கோம், அவ்வளவுதான். அந்த இசை கருவிகள் எல்லாம் பார்த்துட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து இது வந்து ஜனவரியில நடந்தது. அதுக்கப்புறம் நான் ஆகஸ்ட்ல தான் இந்த கொரிய ராணியை பத்தி ஒரு அட்டைப்பட கட்டுரை என்னோட ஒரு மேகசினுக்காக பண்ணணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு போகும்போதுதான் நிறைய விஷயங்கள் எனக்கு கிடைச்சது. அப்ப நான் அந்த நிறைய விஷயங்களை பார்க்கும்போது இசையை பத்தி பார்க்க தொடங்கினேன் நான். அப்ப அவங்களோட ட்ரெடிஷ்னல் இன்ஸ்ட்ருமெண்ட்ஸ் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு நீங்க ஒரு கூகுள்ல போட்டீங்கன்னா அது ஒரு லிஸ்ட் கொடுக்கும். அந்த லிஸ்ட பார்த்தனா நான் என்ன அந்த கண்காட்சியில பார்த்தேனோ அந்த கருவிகள் தான் அதுல இருந்தது. அப்ப வந்து நம்மளோட அந்த பழங்காலத்து கருவிகள் கொரியாவிலயும் அந்த பழங்காலத்து கருவிகளாவே இருந்திருக்கு அப்படிங்கறத எனக்கு அப்ப தெரிஞ்சுது. அப்புறம் தான் நான் அதை பத்தினே ஒரு கட்டுரை எழுதி நான் தமிழ் இசை மாநாட்டுக்கு அதை வந்து சமர்ப்பிச்சேன் நானு. இப்ப இது நான் கேள்வி உங்ககிட்ட என்ன வைக்கணும்னா, இப்ப அவங்க வந்து அங்கேருந்து இங்க வந்து உங்களுக்கு அந்த இசை கருவிகள் எல்லாம் உங்களுக்கு வாசிச்சு காட்டினாங்க. இப்ப இவங்கள நீங்க நம்ம தமிழ்நாட்டுல இருக்கிற இசை கருவிகளை அறிமுகப்படுத்தினீங்களா? அப்போ
ஆமா, ஆல்வேஸ் அவங்க எப்ப வந்தாலும் வெதர் இட் இஸ் அ டான்ஸ் ஆர் இந்த மாதிரி மியூசிக் இன்ஸ்ட்ருமெண்ட்ஸ் whatever they are playing, we always make sure there is a workshop attached to the performance. So on the workshop last time we had Padma Subramanian madam oda edathila all the musicians came together. Kalakshetrala pannirkom, Dakshina Chitra, wherever we get the opportunity. And அது என்னன்னா ஒண்ணுமே லாங்குவேஜே தேவையில்லை. they will start playing and they கொஞ்சம் introduction interpretation தேவை we may need, but beyond that percussion will speak to percussion, string will speak to string, wind will speak to string. அவங்களுக்கும் இந்த பான்சுரி மாதிரி நம்ம இது we have our இதுல the flute. The flute, they've got so many varieties made of bamboo, the thicker one, thinner one, etc., with different pitches and different sounds. Then you have our mridangam, avangalukku irukkiradhu jangu, you know, where one is the treble and one is, you can control how you are playing it on either side. They use a stick, we use a hand. Okay. Then they if you look at their gayagam instrument, beautiful stringed instrument. Admari nambagitta we've got so many stringed instruments, including the chitravina, which has that plucking that they do, and they play with it, you know. So anga Yukyangwana solli one musician, she was actually she was composing for an instrument which is almost dying out because either composition illa ennu sollite she has created, it's called the cholagnam. And that is exactly like the chitravina. You got to pluck it and you got a small slide, you know, which keeps it going. So andamari we actually brought out a couple of years ago a calendar. I'll try and see whether we have some and we'll courier one to you. The calendar which basically talks about the similarities of instruments, giving the name of the instrument and what it was used for. And the use also, it's interestingly very, very similar. It may be for a festive occasion. It may be for a sort of temple related. So like in Kerala and in Tamil Nadu as well, we do have certain instruments that we use particularly in the temples. So you have like the Panchavadyam which happens in Kerala. So you have 5 instruments which represents different elements. Similarly, you have for the Samanori here, every instrument is representing either thunder or lightning or, you know, it is going back to nature. Okay. They also have a very interesting way of looking at directions where you have north, south, east, west, and center. And if you look at the way their food is arranged, the way their, you know, crops are cultivated, originally crops, now of course it's all changed. But if you look at their bibimbap, which is like rice mixed with vegetables and sometimes they add meat and add egg. There's a particular color, in the middle would be the egg yolk, which is yellow. then you have different directions and different colors of these vegetables, the way in which they are arranged. So I was asking a friend of mine, is there is there a reason for this? And the reason is that these are all directional.
Yeah.
It stands, it's very interesting. And then, of course, you mix it all up before you eat. There's also the Korean baked bun, which is very similar to our thali meal that we have. We have a bowl of rice and we've got lots of small vessels around it with the accompanying dishes. So it could be, you will have your puriyal, you will have your kalanolan, whatever, everything is going to be. Kalanolan is Kerala, sorry. You will have it here in Tamil Nadu. You'll have various dishes around and they have their particular positions where you should keep it, even if it's on a leaf, particular position for each thing. So what these people, the baked bun does is exactly the same. Composite pot of rice, and then you have all your dishes. This was years ago. Now, how is a table? You have all the small dishes in the middle. You still have your own pot of rice, but you pick from the middle. Everybody shares the middle. We don't typically share a thali.
Yes.
Isn't it? So these are the kind, we had a marvelous program in Korea called, where it was part of the architectural biennale. And Chennai was one of the cities chosen among 50 cities around the world. Chennai was one city which was chosen. And we worked with Anna University and the Kuam restoration team and all that to talk about water. Because in Chennai, either there is excess of water or there's no water at all.
Yes.
And we have the Kuam River, which forever has been a subject of study, a subject of so much funding coming in, and still no solutions have been found properly. So we made this presentation. Our panel was talking about water, because the whole biennale was about elements, about different elements of nature, and we chose water. And on the other side of the city was like a makeshift cafe where we had 3 chefs from Eden restaurant in Chennai, vegetarian restaurant in Chennai, 3 chefs whom we took across, and they actually recreated the thali. They made the thali. They had, our filter coffee. They made sure that they had all our dishes, including like from vada and all that were very popular. But we also had something very similar to their yakwa, which is adirasam. The adirasam is exactly same consistency, taste as a yakwa. So when we did this, we also had a lot of discussions about food. How do we look at food is very similar to how Korea traditionally looked at food. And now with GMO and so many things happening, we do not know how to go into a forest and pick something, a kire, if you like. What is a kire which is edible and what is poisonous? We don't know. We don't know, but our elders would know and say, this is for your Muttu Ali and that is for your Nyabha Shakti and something else is for some, isn't it? Yes. So this wisdom remains. So part of the thing that we did there, we also had these walks with experts, sometimes old women, old ladies or old men who could tell us exactly which mushroom you can pick.
Okay.
Exactly which flower you will use for your tea. This kind of thing. So all I'm saying is that at every opportunity, we try and see how do we examine the cultural similarities and differences. What do we draw from this? Not immediately concluding that this necessarily went only from India there or something from there came here. That's happening as part of a research project, and probably we will come up with a set of essays. Critical essays, because there's a lot of contention as to where did the queen go from. Was it actually Central India? If so, Korea's origin is Mongolia, China, and the north, and the land. What we are saying is predates it and says Korea's origin is from the south, the sea, and probably India, not China. So this is what we are examining at the moment.
Okay. No, but now the participants have come from Korea. What do they give as a feedback after maybe eating the food or then practicing the instruments, all those things? What is their feedback? Do they connect with our culture, or how is it?
Yeah, we have had in the main positive feedback. They have those who have come here particularly for a residency. It's much more deep, evidently. Those who are tourists and traveling around, they tend to pick up what they pick up. That's about it. But with the Korean community, we've found that they tend to be not because they want to be unfriendly. It could be to do with the language, but they tend to stay in very closed groups. They feel comfortable to a place when an influencer or somebody who's the leader of the group comes along, and I'm talking more in terms of the women now. When they come, like they come for our calligraphy classes, they come for our flower arrangement classes, or they come to a program. Often when they have somebody who is perceived as a leader of the group doing it, then everybody will do it.
Okay.
So you can't go your traditional modes of advertising doesn't work. Simply saying I'm going to put an ad in the paper because there's something happening, not really, And number of them is so much word of mouth actually through the association and everything. But the ones they trust you and they know that you are, they feel comfortable in your space or in what you have to offer, then they stay. Then they consult, then they ask. But as I said, keeping in mind this floating population, it's continuous work. One group, by the time you've just got into, connection with them, it's time for them to leave.
Like that.
So we have here, again, this is on request. We have had English classes. They didn't want to go to the British Council or take exams or do anything that formal. They wanted to have just conversational classes. So sometimes they're taken out into the shops or they go to a restaurant. How do they order? What do they do? How do they think? So if you're going and having a meal, you're having dosa, idli. How do you do this? What is a chutney? How do you dip? How do you do? So we have this. There are history classes that happen, which tell them about our own festivals, traditions. Sometimes we bring food for them, which is a payasam or something, or, something that is made in a pum or something. There is also specially put together kind of curated session at hotels where they learn about Indian food. So they also make the food, then they stay there for lunch. It's a kind of like a course, like a small course that they do. We had one or two people, very few people actually, coming in to say we want to learn the language. Tamil. So we said we can definitely arrange for you, Tamil teachers, not a problem. But or quantum, you cannot do it one-to-one. It's very difficult for us to sustain that kind of thing. So sometimes from companies also we get that request, They have some work at the port or they need customs or something. They need that Tamil interface. That is one thing. The other thing which we have actively supported is when the Korean paramedics, sometimes Hyundai sends paramedical teams. Young people who come and work in the villages and they help to build a wall, build a toilet, do this. There we ask our language students, Korean language, Indian students, Tamil students, to please be their interpreter. So for them, it's an opportunity to learn Korean, but also to assist with Tamil. So that works very well. They go out and, sometimes 2-3 days, 4 days, they spend time and in the rural parts of Tamil Nadu. Outside of it, it could be from Kanchipuram, Tiruvallur districts to further down.
இப்ப எவ்வளவு பேர் இங்க தமிழ் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் கொரியன் கத்துக்காங்க இப்ப உங்க சென்டர்ல இருந்து?
We have so many people who are not all of them are Tamil speaking, but all of them are the physical classes. All of them are residing in Chennai. Smattering of Tamil nalla theriyum, and we have online classes also now, which we started during the pandemic. And other advantage எப்படினா, you could be in Kashmir and you can still take the class. Doesn't matter.
இப்ப இதுக்கு எக்ஸாம்ஸ் எல்லாம் இருக்கா உங்களுக்கு? தனியா ஒரு லெவல் எக்ஸாம்?
We are actually the King Sejong Institute here, which is a national institute in Korea for spreading the language in an authentic manner. So all our teachers are native teachers. They took some time to establish that rapport and to get this MOU with King Sejong Institute Foundation. So King Sejong, as you know, is a person who is credited with having created the language and unified the people with that. So we are called the King Sejong Institute Chennai 1. That is the name. And the topic exam test for proficiency in Korean is also happening here. That's like similar to your TOEFL exam, topic
exam
test for TOPIK. Test for proficiency in Korean. So you can, we recommend that you need at least about 8 months study in order to do the first level. 8 months vidama study and the teaching, the talking component, writing, listening, reading, So we say don't attempt it early and feel disappointed. Or 8 months panna, you will be able to crack that exam. Not a problem.
Okay.
And that is very...
எத்தனை levels இருக்கு அப்போ அதுக்கு?
Oh, it starts from the beginner level. Beginner level, 2-3 levels irukku poradhukku. So you have to finish that and we at the moment go on intermediary and advanced. As we go higher, the number of students reduce because need that continuity, and we also encourage them to go to Korea and study because you will get all around you people will be talking Korean. So India, we apart from the classes we have calligraphy and various other programs also as a kind of language plus which adds on, so they come to all our events, ellame the opportunity to engage more. But the moment you step out of your classroom, you're not talking Korean, no? Whereas if you're studying there, that becomes a difference. So many people have started taking it up. There are also regular elocution competitions and things like that. The prize will be a ticket to go there or to join course or a reduced fee somewhere, things like that.
இப்போ நீங்க வந்து இன்கோ சென்டர் வந்து கொரியா தமிழ் தொடர்பு இருக்கிறதுனால இப்போ உங்ககிட்ட வந்து நிறைய பேர் ரிசர்ச் பேஸ்டா கூட வந்து நிறைய பேசியிருப்பாங்க இல்லையா? சோ அந்த அனுபவத்தை பத்தி சொல்லுங்க. இப்ப நானுமே ரிசர்ச்சர் only I came to you. அதே மாதிரி கண்ணன் ஐயா, ஒரிசா பாலு எல்லாருமே வந்து உங்ககிட்ட பேசியிருப்பாங்க. நீங்க என்ன நினைக்கிறீங்க? அவங்க கிட்ட இருந்து நீங்க என்ன தெரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டீங்க சொல்லுங்க.
No, it's always wonderful. I always wait for these opportunities where I can talk to people who are passionate about Korea and India and passionate about Korea and Tamil, Korean and Tamil, So wherever we can extend support there, we're very happy to do that. But other than that, I must say we've also had inquiries from universities like Kriya University. So that is really for students who are just graduating. They need to have a project that they take up. So we always encourage them, talk to them, understand their requirements, what their interests, and then we put them in touch with people, and they come up with an essay or whatever is the course requirement. So last couple of occasions, it has been those interested in K-pop and K-wave, Hallyu. So we're telling people, there's one which is very interesting about literature, links between texts in Korean and here, and certain common thematic links that the person could make and things like that. So I'm sure that I think we need more of this. We are not a university in order to to give a degree, but we can definitely provide the links to talk to people who are in the field. And wherever possible, if there is some, minor funding requirement, we can look into that as well. We are also, Professor Kannan's book was completely done on his own, but we're so fortunate to have been able to release it and to have that vibrant discussion. People came from all over. They not just from Chennai, they traveled from far away. I think somebody from Delhi and Calcutta and all were here for the talk, which is very nice because I think, again, in India, we don't do enough of this. In Korea, you find people traveling from one end to the other. The distances are not much. We're really looking at Tamil Nadu and Korea, South Korea, in terms of population, you can match it, So one state of ours is one whole country. Therefore, I feel that we've got to sort of narrow it down when we are doing any kind of research. Just keeping it too broad makes it very dilutes it somewhat, So if we're doing, even when we do any of the collaborative projects, nothing goes without that research phase. So they travel. Like we did a theater production, and we invited the director to come here during the Margari season because there are so many performances happening, so many talks happening, and it was so good because from that they selected the Tapatam artist. They selected one artist who was actually not from here, is a Baul singer from Calcutta, but now based in Kerala. We had a Kathak dancer who came, and so all of these performances happening around. Is the most beautiful month of Margari, where everyone is out and everyone is able to, actually see, meet, talk. It's very lively, So we try and call these people saying, and when some of the artists are in the village, like we had a gentleman called Parani who is based in the village far away from Chennai, and they were having a festival there. So we said, rather than calling them out here into an unnatural space, into a proscenium art space, we should travel there and watch it as it is authentic. It's like love.
Yeah, correct.
You've got to go there and sit there and watch it as it is meant to be. Then you'll get an idea, can we integrate this? What can we do? So even in Korea, when we have the traditional performances, we ask them, show it to us in the most authentic way. We don't want a touristy version of it.
That's right. That's good. So you have done a lot of work through this InKo, I think so.
No, still lots more to go. There's still, I think, only the surface. We've just touched the surface.
Yeah. Because we are doing research, but you're in the field to see things, right? Because we read from paper and all those things, and then we put it together. But you see actually what is happening both in Tamil Nadu and in Korea, and then you connect. That will be more authentic. Maybe like what you said, it's an authentic way of studying things, right? And you were telling about Professor Kannan's book. So he is now with us. Maybe he can also tell some introduction about his book and how it went on, so that with that our viewers will also know what are the things that he has also done, and you can also interact with him now.
Sure.
Vanakkam. I will be also bilingual, and I think to feel a little more comfortable. I should really thank this meeting, Chitra. Thanks for organizing this, because Rati is a very, very important link for us, for researchers in Tamil Nadu to link with Korea, and not the universities and not the government, but InKo is giving us the right support what we need. Okay, so I should thank Ursa Balu who introduced me to InKo and to Dr. Rati. And it has been a greater support for us, actually. So I came from Malaysia when they conducted a workshop in InKo, inviting researchers from Korea, as well as some of us from Tamil Nadu. And when we presented it, it was really typical academic experience I had. It's not that they immediately support you. Okay. Some of them supported, some of them were very critical. They say, you've been talking about myths, and we don't consider it as a history. Okay. And so they wanted more authentic, research-based material to support. So in that way, I really enjoyed it. And when I entered Korea as a researcher in environmental analytical chemistry, so I was in one of the prestigious institutes there. But as a Tamil, as a cultural entity, when you enter into Korea, you immediately feel the links, automatic. Any Tamil who lands up in Korea will immediately feel whether it's from Kerala or Tamil Nadu. Okay? That's how I started my interest on Korea-Tamil relationship. And, I stayed for 8 years and so had extensive experience with people, food, language, culture, and whatever Dr. Ravi has explained, I felt the same way. And so that made me to do more research on this. In 2006, actually, exactly the time when InKo was initiated, I started presenting my inquiries in a forum that attached to Tamil Heritage Foundation. Okay, so it took nearly for 20 years for me working on this one. Okay, and so when I came out with these books, first I wrote a Tamil book called Korea in Tamil Nadu. Okay, that created a lot of interest, and that was one of the bestsellers in Tamil Nadu. But that was in Tamil. Okay, but that's not enough. I know. Okay, that was only to create some curiosity, interest. Okay. Then I thought, I need to do a research work on that. And that was the Kaya, the story of Chimba in Korea. That was actually released by InKo. I was so really thankful to Dr. Ravi for doing that. She gave, as I told you, she always supports and gives us the platform to do this, And most interestingly, because of InKo again, one of the students from InKo who studied and mastered Korean, and Bhavani, she translated my first book, the Tamil book, into Hangul in Korean. This was, in history, this was the first time from Tamil directly to Hangul.
Korean.
Like I tried my best in these years to send it to my Korean friends. They just give it to me in English.
English, yes.
Then I will translate, I says, no, that doesn't really mean anything. If you say that there is a link between Tamil and Korean, it should be from Tamil to Korean.
Yes.
And
Right.
Bhavani did a great job, thanks to InKo again, because she is trained in from InKo. Okay. And so all these interesting elements put together, that event at InKo was fantastic. And we were very, very, I was very, very grateful to that. Okay. I'm sorry, there was a call. And that's one thing. And secondly, I was very impressed by the experience of Dr. Ravi, who explained so beautifully. It's very interesting to hear from her, from the horse mouth, this interaction, what is going on. And many of the things what she mentioned, I really appreciate those views, and that's very true. And what still fascinates me is that, I'm sorry, there was a call coming. Sorry. So what still fascinates is the links what we have between Korea and Tamil is so ancient. Okay. Many modern Koreans don't really see those things.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's the thing. And secondly, the historicity in Tamil Nadu and Korea are two very different things. Korea is so very modern. It's a land of bandwidth. It's a center of bandwidth. And yeah, this is one of the very highly networked nations in the world. And so they are very, very modern. In fact, to tell you the truth, I sent a girl from Tanjavur to go and study this archaeology, this history of things. And you know what they did? They asked her to do something on augmented reality. I says, what is the connection? Okay. That's how the perception of Korean. This is do an augmented reality so that, you can present your historical research from a technical point of view. See, they always look at it that way.
Yeah, modern way.
Yeah, modern way. While I stayed in Korea, I spoke to some historians. They're not very much interested in the Gaia story and all those things, what we are talking about. Partly because kind of they know that, of course, there's a tremendous influence of India. Buddhism is there everywhere and a lot of other things. And when you say, yeah, language is also connected, the culture is also connected, they're a little bit threatened, that you are trying to say everything comes from your country to our country.
They don't want them.
Yeah. So kind of they are a little bit hesitant on that, and that is one reason there is no Indologist in Korea.
Yeah.
See, if you go to Japan, there is like people like Professor Ono, who has done deep research on linguistic connections. There is nobody in Korea who is still interested in doing that. Okay. So I can't even name one person who is an Indologist in Korea. Okay. So in a way, like Dr. Rati, we and Balu, we are all in a kind of a situation where we try to create interest among the people. And recently, while we were presenting, when Dr. Subhashini was there, and she spoke to InKo Center and to whether we can have a collaborative tour, a cultural tour, where whatever we spoke about it, to show the Koreans, okay, that there is a link and your roots are here in a very mild way.
Yeah.
And as she said rightly, we don't know whether we got it from east. It's not always from west to east, from India to, so we might have got a few things from there too. So all these things are topics to be researched in the coming years.
That's right.
And in general, InKo reminds me always of my first experience with the East was in Japan. I stayed there for 5 years. I got my second PhD in Japan. And so they have a center called Nichibe Bunka. Bunka is cultural in Japanese. And Nichi is America, okay? So that was my first experience of cultural exchange. But InKo Center is so beautiful, okay? and she has kept it in such a beautiful way. And it's still for us, it's an oasis, so that whenever we feel little bit nostalgic, because my daughter loves Korea like anything, she often complains me, why did you leave Korea? Okay. And so she wants me to be there forever. And she's learning Korean now. And so InKo is our link. Thank you, Rati.
Thank you very much, Professor Kannan. They were very kind words. But I agree with you that we are, a few of us at least, and I think most of you as part of this association, are genuinely interested in this relationship, and we're trying to find out whatever way. There may be many, many different ways in which we can connect. So what are the touch points? How do we share that? How do we go deeper and understand it? So sometimes things might still remain on the level of probability. We don't have enough evidence to sort of say, like a thesis wise, that this is so, but even a probability is enough. I mean, like if you look at Professor Kannan's book, it makes you think, could this have happened? Could this be probable? Would this have happened? That's enough to set you going in terms of, and you may go deeper in one way or the other. In fact, Professor, one of your students actually called me up afterwards and we had a detailed chat. She's going to do her research. She is sort of, trying to formulate what she's going to focus on. So I hoped it helped her, but we had a long chat and gave her a few leads, and we'll see how this goes. So basically engaging with this in as many ways as possible.
Yes.
We have another very interesting project which will come to fruit hopefully next year. The research has been completed this year. And this is about how India's connection with Korea after the war. And the peacekeeping force which left from Chennai actually under Pandit Nehru's command to send a group by General Thorat was the head of the group, and they went from here to Chennai to Korea by sea. And were not allowed to land in South Korea. The then dispensation thought they were very close to Russia. Maybe they were coming in here with some other agenda. But we were not aligned, and we were really genuinely going there as peacemakers and peacekeepers, So they landed in the DMZ, the land between North and South Korea. And in that bitter cold had to sit down and talk to people and repatriate them wherever they wanted to go. So most people went to Europe and other parts of the world. 8 families came to India. And of those 8, most of them went north. Of those 8 families, it was only last year that the last of that family went back. And that gentleman passed away, unfortunately. His son is still alive. So we're trying to, find him and, get his details. The reason we got interested in this is that one of the officers who was part of General Thorat's team, his daughter is a visual artist and his granddaughter is a dramaturge. Both of them are in Chennai. And they came saying they've discovered a box of letters and they found all kinds of old, scratchy videos and things like that. So can we pull this together as a research project, which will culminate in a installation. It'll be a kind of walkthrough installation. I'll keep all of you informed when that happens. But very, very exciting discoveries, and using video, photograph, is part of it being recreation and part of it being real. That kind of thing. So that's also in the making, and hopefully by next year that should be ready for presentation. So that is going on. So I don't think there's a dull moment ever. There's something or the other coming up all the time. And like they always say, if you look, it's right there in plain sight. We've got to just look and keep looking. So more strength to all of you in the work that you're doing, and thank you so much for having me on your program. If there are any questions, we can take some questions now, Dr. Chitra, if you like.
Yeah, it is nice meeting you, Rati. Actually, Orissa Balu Aya is also there online, but maybe we don't want to disturb him to talk. But I want to just tell him, Vanakkam, Nalla irkingla Aya. அதுதான் இது வரைக்கும் நீங்க ஃபுல்லா பார்த்தது எங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம். அதே மாதிரி ஆரோக்கியராஜ் அவரும் வந்து கொரியால இருந்து ஜாயின் பண்ணிருக்காரு. ஆரோக்கியராஜ், நீங்க ஏதாவது சொல்லணும்னு நினைக்கிறீங்களா?
வணக்கம்.
வணக்கம்.
வணக்கம் சார்.
நீங்க கொஞ்சம் சொல்லுங்க இன்கோ சென்டர் பத்தி, உங்களுக்கு எப்படி அது யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா இருந்ததா, எப்படி என்னன்னு சொல்லுங்க.
Yeah, so good evening, ma'am. Good evening,
Good
Kannan
evening,
sir.
good evening.
Yeah, Balu sir and Chitra ma'am. So nice to meet you. So really, this meeting is wonderful. Like apart from the language similarities and culture, she gave a lot of information. What the diplomatic policy. So that really we need. Like apart from this thing, it is really needed. What Korean students required and Indian students required, everything is required. And she told that she visited Korea and she visited the markets, so we can see a lot of things. I'm staying in Korea for more than 10 years, around 10 years. So working as a professor in one of the world top ranking university. So I'm also doing some research regarding the Korea Tamil so a lot of research I'm doing.
Which university, sir? Which university?
So earlier I worked in Seoul National University for 3 years. Now I'm working in Sejong University.
Okay.
Okay. So initially I came as a in SNU, Seoul National University. SNU is a top ranking university in Korea, number 1 in Korea.
That's right. That's right. Part of the Sky universities.
Yeah, one of the Sky universities. So certain things really I was amazed by the Korea. The thing is, we are from India. I love our country and everything. But whenever we are working, certain things we need to learn. I'm a scientist. Okay, so we will have, whenever we're doing some experiments, we will have some positive control and negative control. So whenever we are making some similarities, like the thing is, really I'm impressed and surprised. Korea is a very small country, but the world ranking, the top ranking universities. Okay, if you take the top ranking universities around 200. Within 200, around 8 to 10 universities in from Korea. But India is a very big country and we have more than 600 universities, but we have only 3 universities. Okay, so like this kind of InKo center, what I'm trying to say means, like, we need to intake. Okay, what are things we need to go to the next level. So India country, we need to, because I was worked as an assistant professor in Anna University also for 2 years. So, and also I took around some 12 students, 12 to 13 Indian students in Korea, along with the fellowships, monthly fellowships around $800 to $1,000, like this thing. So our students are talented, but why our university ranking is not entering the top 200? So those things we need to, apart from the other diplomatic policy, we need to go to the next level.
No, this university ranking is based on how many foreign students are there and how many foreign professors are working in your university, how many innovations you have done. So many things are there, but India is still closed. We don't have any foreign people working here and foreign students coming and studying here. That is why we are not ranking that much. That is the feeling that I have.
No, but what he says is a very important point.
Yeah.
I often talk with Arike Raj on that. The thing is, research-based and publication-based. While I was at Madurai University, when I was working for my first PhD, our slogan was "Publish or Perish." Okay, so I'm ranked, one of the top 10 professors in the world because of my publication and citation. Citation is very important.
Yes.
So. But the Indian, even Malaysia is not tuned for that. Even there, the citation indexes in many universities is not heard of. Okay, but in India, no, there is no Scopus journals here or ISA journal publication. That kind of peer-reviewed publications. You're lacking a lot.
Yes.
Only when you are known, peer-reviewed and internationally known, then only your research capability will be. See, it's right. Nature once published one whole journal for Indian research. There's a lot of research here. I mean, India is the 3rd biggest research potential in the world, with technical manpower, and after Russia and USA, So we have so much of technical manpower, but still our universities are not ranked. But I think it's a systematic streaming, our academicians can do that. but I don't know. Manasu vekkala.
Yeah, still we are lacking in that. Actually, that's what.
Yeah. So the point is why I have mentioned this point means like while we are doing some the Korea Tamil work, so we need to prove academically and research point of view. Then only.
Yes.
So see, most of the things we are speaking regarding to Korea Tamil studies or India Korea cultural studies, we are all speaking with our people.
Yes, that is right. It's not going international.
Who should understand?
Yes.
Okay, the message should pass to the Koreans.
Yes.
Okay, so when we are passing the message to the Koreans means we should be strong enough.
Yes.
Then they will accept. So that is the point. So when we are strong enough in academically and research point of view, they feel okay. So they feel happy to those kind of things. So those things we need to improve. And
I agree with that point in terms of how we present ourselves, because I found whenever we are doing a MOU, we are not a university, but even though we are not a university, we still have MOUs with universities. The most recent was Busan University of Foreign Studies.
Oh.
So we then say, okay, we will do a broad MOU where we will have cultural exchange, we will do this or that. Now, Jeju University has shown an interest, someone else has shown. But I think it's all what I was talking to you about earlier, about outcomes, about promises made and promises kept. And if that is done, then it's a very strong basis on which you can build. But I think they pretty much are quite tough taskmasters in the sense that if you break your promise, you're not often given a second chance. And that I think we've got to learn, and we've got to respect that everybody works to a particular rhythm. I mean, there may be cultural specificities, but then we can't say, no, this is the Indian way of working or that is the Korean way of working. We do need to have that via media there. For instance, I always say that one thing which is to be kept in mind is that because of the nature of our context, we are 101% tolerant of uncertainty. Because suddenly you could say the bus broke down, there's no electricity, my connectivity is poor, whatever. This seems like an excuse to most people, but that's the reality in which we live. So we always have a plan A, plan B, plan C, C minus D. We have all of this. Whereas if you look at Korea, they are very linear. A goes to B, B goes to C. Otherwise, they drop the project altogether. So 0% tolerance of uncertainty. Now you're putting these two cultures together to work efficiently. How does it happen? It's really a question. And I whenever I talk to all our member companies, when we have they sometimes say, we don't understand this. What is this? I mean, starting with the head shake, of course, where we say, isn't it yes or no or maybe, but on more serious issues, I think they've brought down their cluster conglomerate of industries here, because that allows them to work like clockwork. 1 second, one part not available means millions of dollars of losses. Here they've tightened it up in a very smart way, where they just have it down the road and it's there. And Chennai chosen particularly because of its port facilities, because of the fact that they can reach out through exports everywhere else. So remarkable in the way in which they've come into a country which they don't know the language, they're not able to, the completely different way of working, and they have still managed to hold their own. So definitely things. But on the other hand, there is a certain degree of inflexibility there, which I think makes it tough for them in certain situations here. We bring that flexibility. Whereas we say, don't worry. I go back to when InKo Center was being inaugurated. In the morning, our Korean friends who came here thought, they were like surprised. They said, you're opening at 6 o'clock? Because it was still so much a mess, so many things taken out and cleaning going on and everything. But for us, it was like, okay, get all hands to the deck. And we told them, listen, go back to your hotel, relax in the pool or wherever, have a good lunch and come at 6. And when they came at 6, everything was in place. The lamp was ready, people were there, flowers were there, everything. And they were shocked. How did you manage to do it? You would have given up. I said, well, this is the flexibility that we have. I'm not saying, and often we use this thing as an excuse. We say, we can't do it like this, we'll do it some other way. And the worst part is we'll say it at the nth hour. When something is planned for today and you have decided, at the nth hour, you will have some reason to change it. Maybe because of context, or maybe ducking under an excuse, I don't know. But I have found that if you play it straight with them, you keep your promises, you tell them straight away, then they also respect you if you say, I'm sorry, I can't do this. Which is so not in our culture. We can never say no to anything, And then we just tie ourselves in. But I put it across to them in a good way. I said, it's not that. We always want to have a maybe because we want to try. We genuinely want to try and help you. The question is, where do we pull that plug on the trying to say we can't, beyond this, we can't do it? Because the other person is expecting that you will do it. So that's I think the gap.
So இப்போ உங்ககிட்ட 2 क्वेश्चन கேட்கணும். இப்ப நீங்க சொன்னீங்க இல்லையா, இப்ப யுனிவர்சிட்டியில நீங்க டை அப்லாம் பண்ணிருக்கீங்கன்னு. இப்ப நம்மளோட மாணவர்கள் அந்த யுனிவர்சிட்டிக்கு போகணும்னா இன்கோ சென்டர் எதுவும் உதவி பண்ணுமா? அது எப்படி உங்களை அப்ரோச் பண்ணணும் அத சொன்னீங்கன்னா நல்லா இருக்கும்.
Sorryங்க சார், I just had a call.
நம்மளோட ஸ்டூடண்ட்ஸ் இப்ப நீங்க இன்கோ சென்டர் வந்து you have tied up with some universities. இப்ப நம்மளோட ஸ்டூடண்ட்ஸ் வந்து இப்ப கொரியாக்கு படிக்க போகணும் அந்த யுனிவர்சிட்டி.
That is the idea with this most recent tie-up, because Busan University has an India center also. They have an Indian professor, maybe Professor Arogyaraj might know. Srijan, his name is. He's in Busan, and they have a center, India center there. So they are also encouraging, they are also looking for opportunities to have more students. So that's all part of the mix. How do we do it? Because sometimes if the language of instruction is Korean, it becomes very hard, even if they've studied up to intermediate or advanced level. So there are some courses which can be done in English. And we'll do an additional class. So we'll give them some additional classes here before they go. And then they can go there and then brush it up or carry on. But the medium of instruction will be English.
Okay.
So அந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் we are trying to see where are the places where we can make this fit, because it's going to take a while before they move fully into English medium instruction. Yeah.
So அந்த மாதிரி பண்ணீங்கன்னா you guide them for the university or for the language.
And whenever they have programs, we put the news out. There's a nice database, so we put it out to tell them, look, this is happening, apply, see what you can do. We regularly have young students who are school students who are in middle school or high school. They are able to they take part in a painting competition, and about 20 of them go every year. So Chennai, Busan and Tokyo, these are the 3 cities. And they have a nice 1-week immersive experience. They go to the temple, they wear the hanbok, but they also get an opportunity to present our culture. So whether it's Bharatanatyam or singing or whatever, they also present. And they become like little ambassadors, going across.
And the painting competition பத்தினலாம் விவரம் நாங்க எப்படி தெரிஞ்சிக்கலாம்?
இதெல்லாம் நம்ம நியூஸ்லெட்டர்ல இருக்கு மேம். I don't know whether you are getting our newsletter.
சோஷியல் மீடியால ஏதாவது இருக்கா?
சோஷியல் மீடியா இன்ஸ்டாகிராம்ல இருக்கு, யூடியூப்ல இருக்கு, வாட்ஸ்அப்ல அனுப்பிச்சுடுறோம்.
சரி.
So one thing is, இது முடிஞ்ச அப்புறம் I'll ask Velkumar, my colleague, to just collect all your addresses. And if you prefer to get your messages on WhatsApp, first of the month the newsletter goes out.
Okay.
All the information.
அப்ப இன்னொன்னு, நீங்க இந்த கல்ச்சுரல் எக்ஸ்சேஞ்ச் அப்படின்னு சொன்னீங்க இல்லையா, அது நீங்க எப்படி பண்றீங்க? ஸ்கூல் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸா, காலேஜ் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸா? இப்ப ஏதாவது ஒரு ஸ்கூல் வந்து நான் கல்ச்சுரல் எக்ஸ்சேஞ்சுக்கு கொரியா போகணும்னு சொன்னாங்கன்னா உங்களை அப்ரோச் பண்ணா அது நடக்குமா?
அது கொஞ்சம் difficult for us because we'll have to take individual schools, one by one. So we normally link it up with it's a case by case. We'll have to see where we can help them. If we have any contacts over there, we can tell them that. Adu mudiyum. Ma'am, if you give me 1 second, just 1 second, I'm going to somebody's visa, which was like,
okay.
may or may not happen. It has just come through. So I'm just going to stop that. You can continue talking, please.
Yeah, okay. No, I think I want to finish, yes.
சித்ரா மேம், எதுக்கு நான் அந்த கேள்வி கேட்டேன்னா, அவங்க டாக்டர் ரதி அவங்க சொன்னாங்க பாரு, அது வந்து ஏன்னா இது இங்க நான் என்னோட அப்சர்வேஷன், எங்க ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் நான் பேர் எடுக்கிறோம், அது பெரும்பாலும் நம்ம கொரியன் ப்ரொஃபசர்ஸ் இப்ப நம்ம ரெக்கமெண்ட் பண்றோம். இப்போ வந்து ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் இப்ப கண்ணன் சார் என்ன ஸ்டூடெண்ட் ரெக்கமெண்ட் பண்ணாரு, இப்ப நான் ரெக்கமெண்ட் பண்றேன், இப்ப இந்தியால இருந்து என்ன ரெக்கமெண்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க. ஆனா என்ன ப்ராப்ளம்னா, இது சில ஃபேக்ட், நம்ம அந்த ஃபேக்டை ஒத்துக்கினாதான் அதை வந்து கலைஞ்சாதான் அது பர்ஃபெக்டா ஆக முடியும். நமக்கு குறைன்றது இல்ல. இப்ப நம்ம பசங்கிட்ட பார்த்தோம்னா நல்லா படிக்கிறாங்க, அது பிரச்சனை இல்லை. ஆனா சில இதுல பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஓவர் கான்பிடென்ட் இல்ல அதிகமா ஓகே நம்ம பண்ணிவிடுவோம், அவங்க சொன்னாங்க இந்த மாதிரி மேபி ட்ரை. அது என்ன ஆகுதுன்னா, ஒரு சைக்கலாஜிக்கலா கொரியன்ஸ் மைண்ட் செட்டை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் இந்தியன்ஸ் தேர் ஆர் வெரி பிரெய்னி, அந்த ஒரு கான்செப்ட் இருக்கு. அது ப்ரீ கன்சீவ் அவங்க மைண்ட்ல என்னன்னா இந்தியன்ஸ் ஆர் பிரெய்னின்னு ஒரு ப்ரீ கன்சீவ் இருக்கிறாங்க. இது ஒண்ணு. ரெண்டாவது பாயிண்ட்னா, அவங்கள பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் இப்ப நம்ம இந்தியாவை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் ஒரு மாஸ்டர் டிகிரி போறான்னு வச்சுங்களேன், ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட் பிஹெச்டி போறாங்கன்னா, நம்ம கல்ச்சர்ல எப்படி இருக்குன்னா, அங்க வந்து ஒரு லேப் செட்டப் இருக்கும், ஒரு லேப் ஒரு எஸ்ஆர்எஃப் சீனியர் ரிசர்ச் ஃபெலோவோ இல்ல ஒரு சீனியர் ஒருத்தர் இருப்பாங்க. இப்போ புதுசா ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட் பண்ணாங்கன்னா அவங்க ட்ரெயின் அப் பண்ணுவாங்க. ஆனா இங்க கொரியா அப்படி கிடையாது. நீங்க வந்து ஜாயின் பண்ண உடனே ஈவன் தோ யூ மே பி கிராஜுவேட், அது அண்டர் கிராஜுவேட், ஈவன் தோ யூ மே பி மாஸ்டர் டிகிரி, நீங்க போய் ஜாயின் பண்ண டே ஒன்ல அந்த கொரியன் ப்ரொஃபசர்ஸ், ஈவன் ஜப்பானீஸ் அண்ட் சைனீஸ் எந்த ப்ரொஃபசர் என்ன நினைப்பாங்க, ஓ இவனால எல்லாம் பண்ண முடியும், அந்த கான்செப்ட் அவங்களுக்கு இருக்கும். அப்ப நீங்க எடுக்கும் போது அந்த ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ்க்கு எனக்கு இதுதான் எனக்கு தெரியும், இதுதான் எனக்கு தெரியாதுன்னு நீங்க ஓப்பனா சொன்னீங்கன்னா கொரியன்ஸ் they will accept and they will happy to teach you. அப்ப இங்க என்ன ஆகுதுன்னா ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ்க்கு இவங்க வந்து சொல்ல மாட்டாங்க, அவங்க சிவில பத்தி நிறைய போட்டுக்கிறாங்க, எனக்கு இது தெரியும் அது தெரியும்ட்டு. அப்ப உள்ள என்ட்ரி ஆயிடுறாங்க. உள்ள என்ட்ரி ஆயிட்ட பிறகு இங்க அது நான் சொன்னல, நம்ம காலேஜ்ல நான் இந்தியாவில ஒர்க் பண்ணிக்கிறேன், இங்கேயும் ஒர்க் பண்ணிக்கிறேன், அந்த இதுல சொல்றேன். அப்ப இந்தியாவில பார்க்கும்போது இப்ப ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட் வரானா நான் அவனை என்ன ட்ரெயின் பண்ணுவேன், ஓகே அவனுக்கு என்ன தெரியும், அவன் மோஸ்ட்லி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஜெனரேஷன் கிராஜுவேட்ஸ் நம்ம இந்தியாவை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும். இங்க அது கிடையாது. இங்க ஆல்ரெடி பார்த்தா அவங்க அப்பா அம்மா ஒரு அளவுக்கு பேக்ரவுண்ட் இருக்கும். ஆனா நான் ஒரு ப்ரொஃபசர், நான் கொரியன் ப்ரொஃபசர் இல்ல ஜப்பானீஸ் ப்ரொஃபசர், என்னோட இதுன்னா அவன் ஒரு ரிசர்ச்சரா வந்தானா உடனே டே ஒன்லயே வேலை ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ண, அதான் நான் எதிர்பார்ப்பேன். ஹிஸ்டரி உன் கதை எனக்கு தேவையே கிடையாது எனக்கு, சரிங்களா? அவன் பேசவே மாட்டாங்க, ப்ரொஃபசர்ஸ் எல்லாம் பேசவே மாட்டாங்க. ஆஃப்டர் அவங்க வந்து இன்னொன்னு வந்து எவ்ரி மந்த்லி ஒன்ஸ் 2 டைம்ஸ் வந்து மீட்டிங் நடக்கும், டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் மீட்டிங் நடக்கும். இந்த வாரம் ஃபுல்லா என்ன பண்ண, இந்த வாரம் என்ன பண்ண போற, அப்ப ஒரு கிளியர் பிளான் இருக்கணும், புரோட்டோகால் இருக்கணும். ஆனா நம்ம பசங்க கிட்ட பார்த்தா ஜஸ்ட் லைக் பண்ணிக்கலாம், நான் குறைலாம் சொல்லல, நான் ஃபேக்டர் நான் சொல்றேன், பண்ணிக்கலாம் பாத்துக்கலாம், இது ஒண்ணு. இன்னொன்னு வந்து மறைப்பாங்க, ஒரு எக்ஸ்பெரிமெண்ட் ஏதோ நடக்குதுன்னு வச்சுங்களேன், சார் இது மாதிரி எக்ஸ்பெரிமெண்ட் பண்ண எனக்கு வரல, நெக்ஸ்ட் டைம் ஐ வில் ட்ரைனா தே ஃபீல் ஹாப்பி. ஆனா நம்ம பசங்க என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க, அது வந்து அது குறை இல்ல, அதாவது என்ன சொல்லுவாங்கன்னா கொடுக்கும் போதே பெஸ்டா கொடுக்கணும், நம்ம ஒரு ஓவர் திங்கிங் என்ன ஆகுதுன்னா இங்க வந்து ஒரு நெகட்டிவ் மார்க் ஆகும். அப்ப கொரியன் ப்ரொஃபசர்ஸ் வந்து மண்டே 9 PM நீ ரிப்போர்ட் சப்மிட் பண்ணணும். ஆனா நம்ம பசங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா அவன் ஹார்ட் ஒர்க் பண்ணிருப்பான், ஃப்ரைடே நைட் உட்காந்துருப்பான், சாட்டர்டே உட்காந்துருப்பான், சண்டே உட்காந்துருப்பான், ஒர்க் பண்ணுவான், ஆனா ஃபெயில் ஆயிருக்கும். ஆனா அந்த ஃபெயில் ஆன ரிப்போர்ட் எப்படி போய் எத்தனை குடுக்கறதுன்றது அவனுக்கு வந்து மனசு ஒத்துக்காது. அதனால அவன் என்ன பண்ணுவான், 9 மணிக்கு மீட்டிங் வர்றதுக்கு எனக்கு வயிறு சரியில்லை, தலைவலிக்குது, லீவ போட்டுருவான். அது என்ன ஆகுதுன்னா 9 மணின்றது அவங்க 8:50 எல்லாம் எல்லாமே கொரியன்ஸ் எல்லாம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஒரு காஃபி கப்ப வச்சுக்கின்னு ஒரு 10 பேர் உட்காந்துருவாங்க, ஏதோ இன்னமும் டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ண போறாங்க. ஏன்னா இவங்க அப்படிதான், இங்க நேச்சர் அதுதான், இங்க ஒர்க் கல்ச்சர் ஈவன் இட் இஸ் பாசிட்டிவ் ஆர் நெகட்டிவ் ரிசல்ட் they need to discuss. அதுதான். அப்ப நீ மறைக்க என்ன ஆகும்னா மறைக்க நம்மளுடைய ஒரு விளையாட்டா சொல்ல போனா நம்ம கிரைம் ரேட் ஒண்ணு ஏறினே போவோம். அதேதான், கரெக்ட். ஒரு நாள் தப்பு, 2 நாள் தப்பு, 3 நாள் தப்பு. நாளைக்கு என்ன ஆகுதுன்னா இப்ப ஆரோக்கியராஜ், இப்ப நான் ஸ்டூடெண்ட், நான் ஆரோக்கியராஜ்னு இல்ல, ஓ இந்தியன்ஸ் இப்படிதான் அப்படி சொல்லிடுவாங்க, நம்ம எல்லாம் அம்பாசிடர்ஸ் ஆக்சுவலா அவுட் சைடு இந்தியா தான். சோ அத வந்து நம்ம மேடம் இருக்கிறாங்கல்ல, நம்ம சொல்லிடணும் உங்களுக்கு ஃபேக்ட், ஓகே இதான் ஜென்யூனா நம்ம சொல்லணும், எனக்கு இதான் தெரியும், இது எனக்கு தெரியாது, ஐ வில் லேர்ன் சொன்னா இட் வில் பி ஹாப்பி.
அது ரொம்ப ஒரு முக்கியமான பாயிண்ட். அது ஜப்பானீஸ் இவன் கொரியன்ஸ் இவங்க எல்லாருக்கும் எப்படின்னா வந்து ஒரு டார்கெட், அது கரெக்டா ரதி முதல்ல சொன்னாங்க, அதாவது வந்து டார்கெட் ஓரியன்ட் ஐடியாஸ் எல்லாம் இருக்கட்டும், உன்னை பண்ண ஆமா அவுட்புட் என்ன, அதுக்கு நீ எப்படி ரீச் பண்ணுவ அப்படிங்கிறது, அந்த ரீச் பண்ற வரைக்கும் how many failures you undergo it doesn't matter. ஜப்பான்ல அப்படிதான் வந்து ரிப்பீட்டடா ஃபெயிலியர் ஆகிட்டே இருக்கும், ஆனா ரிப்பீட் பண்ணிக்கிட்டே இருப்பான் until he reaches there. Okay, அந்த ஸ்டாமினா தான் நமக்கு வேணும். சொன்னார் நமக்கு என்ன அந்த ஸ்டாமினா கிடையாது, அது நம்ம ஹார்ட் ஒர்க் பண்ணுவோம், ஆனா தளர்ந்துருவோம், ஒரு ஃபெயிலியர் ஆனோட தளர்ந்துருவோம் நம்ம. ஓகே, இது ஒரு எம்பாரஸ்மெண்ட், இத போய் எப்படி சொல்றது, நம்ம ஃபெயிலியர் ஆயிட்டோமே, அந்த ஷேம் ஏன்னா. ஆனா ரிசர்ச்ல அதெல்லாம் இருக்கக்கூடாது, அவங்க எல்லாம் ஜப்பானீஸ் அவங்களுக்கு எல்லாம் அது கிடையாது, ஷேமே கிடையாது அவங்களுக்கு வந்து ஃபெயிலியர் ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா ஃபெயிலியர் ஆயிடுச்சுன்னு சொல்லுவான். ஓகே சரி ரிப்பீட் பண்ணுமா, அவர் 100 முறை ரிப்பீட் பண்ணுவான், தயங்கவே மாட்டான், ரிப்பீட் பண்ணிக்கிட்டே இருப்பான் until he gets the results. அந்த ஆட்டிடியூட் தான். அதே போல டாக்டர் அது இன்னும் அழகா சொன்னாங்க, இந்த 2 பேருக்கு டிஃப்ரெண்ட் சிஸ்டம்ஸ் இருக்கு. நம்மதே அப்படின்னா இந்த கயாஸ் மாடல் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க, இட்ஸ் வெரி கயாட்டிக். ஓகே, இந்தியால எப்படி நடக்கிறதுங்கிறதே ரொம்ப பெரிய அதிசயம் தான், ஒருத்தருக்கு முடியாது எப்படி காரியம் நடக்குது. வேற எனக்கு நான் ஜப்பான்ல வேலை பார்த்திருக்கேன், ஜெர்மனில வேலை பார்த்திருக்கேன், கொரியால வேலை பார்த்திருக்கேன், அதெல்லாம் ரொம்ப ஆர்டர்லி சொசைட்டி. அவங்களுக்கு என்னன்னா பிளானிங் இஸ் வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். நமக்கு பிளானிங்கிறதே கிடையாது. இங்க வந்து போவோம், போறபோது எதேச்சியா நடக்கும், நடந்துகிட்டே இருக்கும், அப்படியே போயிட்டு
பிளானிங் இருக்கும். ஆனா அந்த பிளானிங் படி நடக்க முடியாம நிறைய எக்ஸ்டர்னல் திங்ஸ் எல்லாம் வந்து சேரும். அவ்வளவுதான், வேற ஒண்ணும் இல்ல.
இல்ல அதேதான் டாக்டர் சித்ரா, this whole uncertainty conundrum is there.
அதுதான் நிறைய இருக்கும்.
சில டைம்ல it is genuinely a problem, but I feel often we duck under that, saying India is like that,
நம்ம கிட்ட இல்லாம
இல்ல, large country, இதெல்லாம் common things that we hear. We are such a large country, we have no system, we don't know how to do. இதெல்லாம் கேட்டு it goes on. In fact, our greatest challenge when we are working on projects, especially tours and things like that, is how to get all our local partners. And I'm not saying this in any way to put them down. They're brilliant the way they work with us. Ellarume, how do we get on to one common way of doing these things so that there is no angst on any side? So InKo Center's role is to make sure the Korean side is not asking for too much. Sila time la rombo technical idu kepanga, inga illa adu. It's not even available. Okay, we don't even have an auditorium of that level, of that standard. Okay, so how do we come to one via media where they are also comfortable and we say beyond the point, nama compromise panna mudiyadhu, this is the max we can do. Okay, in the side la the local people, local partners will sometimes come up with some silly excuses. And as I'm saying is, it will be agreed upon. You would have agreed in a contract. Ella ezhudi irukum. You will pay this, idu pannu, lunch kodukku, tea kodukku, whatever. Then they'll come back to say, no, but can we change this? Idu panna, when the team is already here and the tour is about to start. There's so much angst. So what we're saying is half of the job is managing this expectation and managing this angst. ரொம்ப ஓவரும் எக்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்ணாதீங்க, நம்மளுக்கு டெலிவர் பண்ண முடியாது. And don't also underplay it so much or duck behind excuses. That's all. So that's what I meant by playing straight. Say if you can do it. If you can't do it, tell us early enough. அது எந்த hour வரைக்கும் drag பண்ணிடு. I think that is a huge learning. Continuously we keep on learning.
அது ஒரு நாள்ல இப்ப நோன்னு சொல்லிட்டா அன்னைக்கு ஒரு நாள்ல போவோம். அதை அப்படியே டிராக் பண்ணி இழுத்து போயிட்டு அது வந்து நான் வந்து அவங்கள துரோகம் மாதிரி ஆயிடும். அவங்களுக்கு வந்து வர டைம் நிறைய இதெல்லாம் வந்து
நீங்க வேலை முடிச்சாச்சா, இப்படி பண்ணும், இப்படி பண்ணும். Have you finished the job? Then they were thinking, oh yeah, she's finished the job. Actually, I was saying, no, maybe. I'm not sure.
மேம் அப்புறம் இன்னொன்னு ஒரு சஜஷன் மேம், ஏன்னா அவங்க கல்ச்சர் சென்டர் இருக்கிறதால she can inform to our students. ஒன்னு அகாடமிக் நான் சொன்னேன், இன்னொன்னு வந்து கல்ச்சரல் பாயிண்ட் ஆஃப் வியூ வந்து நம்ம even though we are telling the Korea Tamil similarities, but the culture is entirely different. Cultural differentனா நம்மளோட ஃபுட் டிஃபரெண்டா இருக்கு, நம்மளுடைய ஸ்டைல் லைஃப் ஸ்டைல் டிஃபரெண்டா இருக்கும். எக்ஸாம்பிள் நான் சொல்ல போனா இங்க வந்து கொரியன் கல்ச்சர்ஸ், இதுல ஏன் நான் சொல்றேன்னா இதெல்லாம் வந்து என்னுடைய எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் என் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ்க்கு நான் முன்னாடியே நான் சொல்லிடுவேன். அப்படி சொன்னதால இப்ப தேர் ஆல் டாப்பர்ஸ். அவங்களுக்கு வந்து எந்த பிரச்சனையும் இல்ல. they can stand on their own leg. ஒன்ஸ் உள்ள வந்துட்டானா அவனே பாத்துக்குவான், அவனே பேப்பர் போட்டுக்குவான், அடுத்த லெவலுக்கு போயிடுவான். அந்த மாதிரி ஏன்னா அகாடமிக் மட்டும் முக்கியம் இல்ல, அந்த இடத்துல எப்படி சர்வே ஆகணும் அதுவும் முக்கியம். ஓகேங்களா?
So in fact we have something here, sir, where when we have the recruits coming in, both sides, Korean recruits coming in to work in Indian companies or in Korean companies, and Indian students working in there is one cultural component, like an orientation, part of their orientation. They come here to InKo Center and we have a discussion on various things. It can be from the way you exchange your cards, to your table manners, to how you intercept, what do you do at meetings, how do you behave, whatever. Rumbo overa heaviya illa, but it's a kind of a quick orientation to tell them, and they actually go away quite relieved. Oh, really? Oh, okay, this is something we should keep in mind. So when we are linking with universities also, that is something that we have to definitely, that sort of mentoring or that sort of shepherding, whatever you call it, has to be done before. Ingendu, when the students go for the student exchange program, we have a complete briefing session before they go. When they come back, there's one debriefing session for us to understand. But it's just that they feel so much more comfortable. They feel comfortable when they go because we've already told them. We've told them, look, it is important for you to be on time. It is important after you eat to take your plates and keep it away. It may be simple things like this, but idu therinjadanaala anga poitu they are not going to be out of step.
Yes.
They're going to. So similarly with Busan University, I was just talking to the professor. I said, if at all our students are going from here, there has to be orientation on both sides. We will do it from here, you do it there. And you tell them exactly when they come in, these are your expectations, so that they're very clear about it,
Yes. Yeah,
So that is the thing. See, when you go, like when I studied in the UK, I felt so much of it was so familiar, because English literature, there were so many things that you study and you see and you say, oh my God, this is what it is. Most disappointing was daffodils, Wordsworth's daffodils. When I saw the actual daffodil, I thought, my God, is this a flower that really inspired this poet to write like this? Anyway, but what I'm coming to say is there's a level of comfort, maybe because of language, shared history, and all of those things. But interestingly, I felt more a foreigner there. I had excellent friends also, professors, everybody. I felt more a foreigner there than I did in Korea. With no language, no entry point when I first went, I still felt at home. So what Professor Kannan was saying about how instinctively you feel at home, there's something there. There is something there which links you. You may not put a finger. And same thing happens when these people come here. They'll say, oh, this looks so familiar. We like the fact that, people are like this. They're so friendly. And they see so much poverty around, but people are still smiling. How is it possible? They ask us questions about aging. It's so funny. They, by the time they're 20, they are very, very angst-ridden and worried that they're getting old. I said, my God, 20 itself, you start feeling like this. What happens when you come to my age or beyond? And they say, what about your grandmothers? What about what did you do? And I said, nothing. We just gracefully grow old. That's all, Whereas this is a national crisis, really, where they do worry. And they have, if you see their cosmetic products and everything, or right now they have these robotic influencers. That I think is the worst, because you can never ever get to that standard of perfection, because it's a robot, it's not a person. Yeah. Okay, so you have a Rosie, you have a somebody, Lotte and other big companies who are actually influencing people to be that thin, or wearing, a size 0, or wearing whatever makeup and this and that, and creating so much of angst because no one can get to that standard. It's an impossible standard, So I'm saying, and again, this you find it creeping into India also. You find a lot of people here who are going away from their traditional, whether it is Siddha or Ayurveda or Kotakal or wherever, everything is available here. Okay, but they will still run after a product which some influencer spoke and somebody said it was amazing. There was an event here at EA Mall with Kotra, we supported. It was an 8 lakh footfall in about 3.5-4 days time. Finally, it became a crowd management event. Okay, because they were selling Korean cosmetics. There was a B2B small, legitimately they had their products. There was a whole section which was just music and everybody sort of enjoying all of that, and some food. That's all there was to it. We had a stall which basically spoke about our work and exchanges, some displays. But everybody who came there was so totally hooked on to Korea, either through language or through K-pop or mainly through K-drama, which I think is a catch-all phrase, genre now. You can see everything. You can see food, you can see the place, so tourism interest, and how well they've maintained that in Korea. When you go back and say, Descendants of the Sun, I want to go there where it was shot, you can go. You'll go there, and for half an hour, you'll be the heroine, and you'll wear the dress, and you'll take the photo, and you do all the usual touristy things that you do, And isn't it so interesting that it's Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism under one head? So they see that link between culture and tourism, and sports is also something where they are bringing around a kind of developmental angle to it through it. So it's very beautifully structured in that sense. And a lot of examples, but I think we shouldn't apply those examples to pan-India, across India. We can apply it to Tamil Nadu.
Yeah,
that will be a kind of like with like if we want to do any kind of comparative study or go deeper. If the moment we open it out, it's just too much. It's too overwhelming.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Good. It's nice chatting with all of you. It's really very informative. இந்த ஏற்பாடுக்கு ஆக்சுவலா பார்த்தசாரதி ஐயாக்கு தான் நம்ம நன்றி சொல்லணும். ஏன்னா இந்த வலைத்தமிழ்ல நாங்க இப்பதான் தமிழ் கொரியா தொடர்பு தான் ஆரம்பிச்சிருக்கோம். ஆனா இது இன்னும் உலகத்துக்கே போகணும் அப்படிங்கிறது தான் எங்களோடது. ரத்தி அவங்கள வந்து நான் பிடிக்கிறதுக்குள்ள இப்போ ஒரு 3 மாசம் ஆயிடுச்சு. ஏன்னா அவங்க டிராவலிங் இல்ல நான் டிராவலிங் மாத்தி மாத்தி
I'm so
இருந்தது.
sorry. I'm really very sorry. My deepest apologies. But
பரவாயில்ல.
because of
அதாவது
the time,
இன்னைக்கு வந்து நீங்க நிறைய விஷயங்கள் எங்களுக்கு தெரிய வேண்டிய விஷயங்கள்லாம் நிறைய சொன்னீங்க. இன்னும் அந்த இன்கோ சென்டருக்கு வந்து நம்ம தமிழும் நம்ம கொரியன்ஸும் நிறைய பழகணும்னு வச்சாலே நம்ம
ஆமா,
இந்த
ஆமா.
கனெக்டிவிட்டியை நம்ம நிறைய கொண்டு வரலாம். ஏன்னா இன்னும் நம்ம இந்த லெவலுக்கு இன்னும் நம்ம போல. ஏன்னா இன்கோ சென்டர் வந்து அதுக்காக ஒரு நமக்கு ஒரு சென்டர் பாயிண்டா இருக்கும் போது அதை பத்தியும் நம்ம சொல்லணுங்கிறதுக்காக நான் உங்களை பிடிச்சி பண்ணணும்னு நினைச்சிட்டு இருந்தேன்.
Actually, நம்ம இந்த InKo Center start பண்ணும்போது the task was very much about introducing Korean culture to India. So gradually I said it can't be only that one-way street. We must look the other side also. So Indian the number, for instance, you Rajesh, who is a mandolin Srinivas brother. Rajesh and team, we presented there, and they so much they enjoyed that music. It was Carnatic music which we presented, you know, but with a twist. Looking at instruments, looking at even things like the tawil, for instance, or looking at mossing. Mossing, we didn't even know what this mossing was. It's a small instrument you place inside and you play. Very tricky. So, and the madri, it has to be a two-way street. Slowly, it has to be both sides, you know. But the primary task was to introduce Korean culture into India, into Chennai mainly, and other parts of India more generally.
இது மாதிரி இன்கோ சென்டர் மாதிரி வேற சென்டர்ஸ் இந்தியால இருக்கா?
இல்லங்க, we don't have any other centers. We only work with partners across.
Oh. பட் அப்ப சென்னைக்கு தான் அந்த சான்ஸ் கிடைச்சது.
சென்னைக்கு தான் சான்ஸ் கிடைச்சது. My chairman is here, Hyundai is here, TVS is here.
அவருக்கு நல்ல வாழ்த்துக்கள் சொல்லணும். ஆரம்பிச்சதுக்கு நிச்சயமா அவருக்கு ஒரு வாழ்த்துக்களையும் சொல்லணும்.
Thank you. No, it's very extraordinary. I always, whenever I get a chance, thank all of these people because they had the vision to see much beyond.
சொல்லுங்க ஆரோக்கியராஜ், சொல்லுங்க.
சித்ரா மேம், இப்ப நம்ம தமிழ் கிளாசிக்கல் இன்ஸ்டிடியூட் தரமணியில இருக்குல்ல, உலக தமிழ், அங்க போனீங்கன்னா நம்ம தமிழோடைய அந்த கல்ச்சரை போர்ட்ரேட் பண்ற மாதிரி அப்புறம் பண்டைய தமிழர்கள் யூஸ் பண்ண பொருட்கள் எல்லாமே வச்சிருப்பாங்க. இப்ப இன்கோ சென்டர்ல இப்ப அவங்க வந்து மெயினா வந்து கொரியா தமிழ்ன்றதுனால ஏற்கனவே நம்மளுக்கு நிறைய இப்ப கண்டென்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் வச்சிருப்பாரு பாருங்களேன். அந்த தமிழ் வேர்ட்ஸ் இல்ல வந்து அந்த ஃபுட் சிமிலாரிட்டிஸ், கேம் சிமிலாரிட்டிஸ் எல்லாமே நீங்களும் வச்சிருப்பீங்க. இந்த போட்டோஸ் எல்லாம் ஏன் அது மாதிரி தமிழ் இன்ஸ்டிடியூட்ல போர்ட்ரேட் பண்ற மாதிரி இங்க ஏன் வைக்க கூடாது?
அவங்க கிட்டதான் சொல்லணும். அதுதான் அவங்க கேலரி ஒண்ணு வச்சிருக்கேன் அப்படின்னு சொன்னாங்களே ஆக்சுவலா. ஆனா கொரியனை பத்தி வச்சிருப்பாங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். பட் அதுல தமிழ் வருமா என்னன்னு தெரியல.
இல்ல அதுதான், ஒரு சைட்ல தமிழ் ஃபுட்ஸ், இன்னொரு சைட்ல கொரியன் ஃபுட்ஸ், தமிழ் ஃபுட்ஸ், அது மாதிரி கொரியன் கல்ச்சரு, தமிழ் கல்ச்சரு, போட்டோஸ் ரெண்டுமே வச்சிட்டீங்கன்னா இன்னும் இட் வில் பி மோர் ஸ்டேபிள். அதாவது அவங்க என்ன ஒரு கொரியன்ஸ் வராங்கன்னா அவங்களுக்கு ஆமா. இப்ப ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் இப்ப கிம்ச்சி போகும் பாப்புன்னு வச்சுங்களேன், அது நம்ம தக்காளி சாதம் மாதிரி தான். அப்ப கிம்ச்சி பாப்பு ஈக்குவல் டு தக்காளி சாதமா புளி சாதம்னு சொன்னா, இப்ப இங்க கொரியாவுக்கு வர தமிழ் பீப்புள் யாருன்னா டக்குன்னு கிம்ச்சி போகும் பாப்புன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. அதே போல இப்ப தக்போ கீரணும், நம்ம ஒரு இட்லி சிமிலரிட்டி சொல்றேன். அது மாதிரி போட்டோஸ் இருந்ததுன்னா அப்ப கொரியன்ஸ் வந்து ஒரு நம்ம சென்னைக்கு வராங்கன்னா அவங்க வந்து இட்லி வேணும், பொங்கல் கேட்டுக்கலாம். சொங்கியான் இருக்கு பாருங்க, நம்ம ஒரு பொங்கல் இருக்கு, சக்கரை பொங்கல், எங்க கொரியன் ஃபுட் சொங்கி ஆல்மோஸ்ட் எல்லாம் சிமிலரா தான் இருக்கும். கொழுக்கட்டை இது மாதிரிலாம் வச்சுட்டா அந்த அட்லீஸ்ட் போட்டோஸ் இருந்ததுன்னா இன்ஃபர்மேஷனா இருக்கும்ல அவங்களுக்கு.
Sir, photos irukku, and we also have a list that we make of all the restaurants, all the various places that people can go to. ஏன்னா அவங்க இங்க வரும்போது ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இமிடியேட்டா இருக்காது. So we've got that and we give it to them. We try
வந்து டிஸ்ப்ளே சொல்றாரு. ஆக்சுவலா கேலரியில you can just show both Korean and Indian. அது மாதிரி சொல்றாரு.
Food and perishable a little bit difficult to do, but we have done various things where we've looked at both sides. Like I said,
photos போடலாம் இல்லையா நீங்க, அதுக்கு சொல்றாரு.
Not gallery quality. I haven't seen photos still which are worthy of a gallery exhibition. Pata, I will definitely do it. I'll tell you what
calendar ஒன்னு பண்ணிருக்காங்க. Actually நான் பார்த்தேன். அதுல வந்து அவங்க கொரியன் and தமிழ் எப்படி ரிலேட்டட்னு சொல்லிட்டு அவங்க கேலண்டர் போட்டுருக்காங்க.
But I'll tell you what we did during the pandemic. Kotra had brought out a book of Korean recipes. Okay. So adhe number edutittu we actually made it into short films. How it is made, what you make, what you do, kind of thing. So later, where are these ingredients available? And wherever those foods were similar to ours, like as I said, yakwa, similar to adrisam, konja change da in terms of ingredients and in terms of process. That we've done. That we've done, and we've released it online. We've had like online discussions,
is it?
and
Okay.
people who are chefs will then talk about it. Adella panni.
Oh, okay.
அதுல
இப்ப
சித்ரா ஒரு
நம்ம
சின்ன
எல்லாருக்கும் இன்ட்ரோடியூஸ் பண்ணோம், அதுதான் மெயின்.
ஆமா, அது ஒரு சின்ன அட்டெம்ப்ட் பண்றோம் நாங்க.
அதுதான்
ஆஃப்டர் மை புக் ரிலீஸ் அப்போ வந்து டிஸ்கஷன். Now Tamil Heritage Foundation is organizing a small tour for the Koreans, okay, residing here, okay. இதெல்லாமே நேரடியாவே அவங்கள வந்து சாப்பிட சொல்ற மாதிரி வச்சிருக்கோம். ஓகே, ஆமா, இந்த எல்லா ஐட்டங்களையும் வந்து இங்கேயே சமைச்சிட்டு, ஓகே, இதெல்லாம் உங்களோட சிமிலாரிட்டி இருக்கான்னு காமிச்சிட்டு கொஞ்சம் ஹிஸ்டரி, இங்க எங்க இருக்கிறது, வைகுண்ட பெருமாள் கோயில்ல போனா பல்லவா அவருடைய ஸ்கல்ப்சர்ஸ் எல்லாம் இருக்கு, அங்க வந்து எங்க வேர் யூ ஃபைண்ட் யுவர் ரூட்ஸ், அந்த மாதிரி கொஞ்சம் பண்ணலாம்னு ஒரு அட்டெம்ப்ட். இப்ப நாங்க ஒரு சின்ன வாட்ஸ்அப் குரூப் வச்சு, also I have invited some Indian students who are very much interested in Korea. அவங்களுக்கு ஒரு டைரக்ட் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ், ஒரு நேட்டிவ் ஸ்பீக்கரோட எப்படி பேசுறது, பழகிறது, இதெல்லாம் we are attempting that. It's going to happen.
We're trying our best to ask around and find out. Like I said, we need a critical group, and once one group gets into it and then speaks well about it to the rest of the group, then there'll be a flood. Correct. But that initial thing is, it'll always take a little time.
But once you start, then maybe you can just arrange a few sessions like that for many people.
Of course, definitely. It'll start with visiting places of historical importance and food. These will be the two kind of touch points, I think, which will take us there.
Good. சோ எல்லாருக்குமே நன்றி சொல்ற நேரம் ஆயிடுச்சு. ஏன்னா இப்ப 1.25 மணி நேரம் நம்ம பேசியிருக்கோம். ரத்திஜி வந்து அவங்க ரொம்ப பயங்கர பிஸி, இருந்தாலும் குடிச்சு வச்சாச்சு. அதே மாதிரி ஆரோக்கியராஜ், அவங்க நாராயணன் சார் எல்லாம் எல்லாருமே வந்தது ரொம்ப ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம். ஒரிசா பாலு ஐயாவும் இருக்காரு. இந்த நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு நீங்க எல்லாம் வந்ததுக்கு மிக்க நன்றி. இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியோட கம்ப்யூட்டர் சிஸ்டம் அந்த இது நமக்கு ஹெல்ப் பண்ண சுரேஷ் அவர்களுக்கும் நன்றி. அதே போல வலைத்தமிழ் நிறுவனர் பார்த்தசாரதி ஐயாவுக்கும் நன்றி. இன்னும் அடுத்து நம்ம இன்னொருத்தர் கூட நம்ம சந்திக்கிற வரைக்கும் உங்களிடமிருந்து விடைபெறுவது முனைவர் மெய் சித்ரா. மிக்க நன்றி.
Thank you. மிக்க நன்றி. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.